Hello, everyone. Good evening and a very warm welcome to this exclusive roundtable brought to you by ETHR World and Great Learning. I'm Pooja Bothra and your host for this session. Today we have with us learning and development experts from different industries. These thought leaders will share their perspective, experiences, and strategies on developing an adaptive and resilient workforce with digital-first learning strategy. You all will agree that being adaptive and resilient are key qualities in a workforce, which has enabled enterprises to scale higher despite all present-day interruptions and series of challenges. The question is, what really makes a workforce agile, adaptive, and resilient? Experts say developing core skills that business needs in the next few years help to develop an adaptive and resilient workforce. Thus, every organization's primary focus must be to design a skilling program that is driven by innovation and aligned with complex business goals to enhance business performance, improve operations, and aid digitalization. To that point, I want to raise the curtain and introduce the learning and development experts we have in the panel. Please join me in welcoming Gauri Rustagi, L&D and Diversity Lead, Asia, Middle East, and Africa region, ABB Industrial Automation. Deepak Arora, Head L&D, Birlasoft. Smita Nair, VP Learning and Performance, BNY Mellon. Ryan Mascarenhas, GM and Head Learning and Organizational Development, Center of Excellence, Godrej Properties. And Ritesh Malhotra, Business Head, Enterprise, Great Learning. Before we start, I'd like to once again welcome the audience. Dear viewers, thank you for being here. Please keep engaging with the panel through the chat tab on your screen. We want to make this discussion interactive, so keep sharing your question for the speakers right from the beginning of the session. I promise to take a lot of audience questions to make this discussion more insightful for you. I want to start with the L&D leader of a technology company, so I will go to you, Deepak. Deepak, what is your L&D strategy to train and develop the workforce to keep pace with the new technologies? Over to you, Deepak.
Thanks, Pooja. So, from my perspective, when I see currently the way the market is panning out, the way there's a war for talent in the industry, especially in the IT industry, I think the key focus here is to get the right skill sets and capabilities developed for our employees. It is oriented towards the fact that, no longer are we talking about generic capability building, but we are being very specific to key niche skills which are needed for specific industries and be able to develop that. And to do so, creating the right ecosystem for learning. So the focus, if I were to put in one single sentence, is the focus is on building skills basis the needs of the business, and that too in a very targeted manner is what I see from an IT perspective right now. And that's the reason why in our kind of industry, you will see right now the focus is around these areas.
Sure, thank you, Deepak. Ritesh, I want to go to you and ask the same question to you. What kind of demand are you seeing with respect to tech skills? Because you see multiple industries. And when I say technology industry, what is the kind of demand you are seeing from employees of technology industry?
So, Pooja, thank you for getting us all together. And just as a couple of opening remarks to that question, see, I think all the panelists and everybody in the audience, this won't be any new news for them. Technology skill demand has gone through the roof. Right now, we're seeing an unprecedented demand on new age technology skills, be it digital, be it data, be it core tech skills. Every industry, including IT, banking, insurance, healthcare, retail, we see tremendous demand from all these sectors, both for upskilling as well as for ready-made talent. I think the new trend that we are witnessing is organizations willing to invest in talent at a very early age. So instead of now looking at talent, technology talent specifically, for point roles, they are now thinking of them as long-term investments. So, we start working with organizations right when learners are at college, people that they hire from college, freshers. Their transition from being freshers in an organization to being experts in the company to growing into mid-management and then eventually senior management roles. Organizations are now willing to invest in what they're calling education for life and lifelong learning programs. I think there's a growing realization that you can't keep on bringing and hiring fresh talent every time there is demand, and you have to develop this funnel of superlative talent within the organization. So that's one unique trend that we're seeing. A lot of companies coming to us for education for life, lifelong learning roadmaps, as well as programs.
Thank you, Ritesh. And, taking a cue from what Ritesh has said, that, you require tech talent in all industries today. And of course, when we talk about the financial industry, that is like, one of the leading industries which is using a lot of technology talent. So Smita, I'd like to get you now. And, I understand that the financial industry has really gone through a huge tech transformation and still going through. So what are some of the core skills that employees must have, and how are you building that in your industry?
Thanks for that, Pooja. And you're very right when you say that the digital transformation is on, a lot of transformation that is happening, and it shows absolutely no sign of stopping soon. And what has happened is that this pandemic that we're going through has actually reinforced that this is not something that's just nice to have, but it's an imperative. And when we look at the skills, technological evolutions and technology ranging from, say, cloud computing, big data, advanced analytics, artificial intelligence, in the form of, say, robotic automation and natural language processing, machine learning, and blockchain through the Internet of Things, and more recent emerging technological realities are the enablers of this transformation. They could also be the cause of the digital transformation of innovation and transformation. Now, when we look at the financial industry, what we are looking at is how is it that institutions, large financial institutions, as well as regulators across the globe are looking at blockchain as a means by which to eliminate unnecessary or duplicated processes, reduce costs, etc. Then again, when we speak about transformation, there's an exponential rise in the demand for data. So application programming interfaces, APIs that is, are being used for solving real life operational as well as investment problems. And also a very crucial thing is giving investors, institutional investors, the ability to receive data the way they want it and with on-demand frequency. So what we're looking at is adopting a dynamic skill strategy, anticipating skills shifts as they are occurring, and developing skills at the time of need rather than waiting for things to happen and then be reactive. A proactive approach is something we're looking at.
Very interesting, Smita. And later in the discussion, I would also like you to tell me, what is your proactive approach and, what is your strategy? And I also request the other panelists to please come in with a follow-up point as, as and when you feel like. Ritesh, what kind of programs have you done with different industries in the financial sector? If you can share some insights on that.
We work with banking, insurance, fintech, and pretty. If you look at it from their end customers' point of view, Pooja, their business has gone through a massive transformation over time. Anything from the customer walking into the branch of a bank as the first interface, or a buyer of a financial services instrument, to the point that he serviced day on day. That entire value chain has gone through big digital transformation, and digital is nothing but data and technology. So a lot of their business is transforming on these two pillars, and therefore they come to us regularly for interventions and programs to transform their talent. Just a few examples: we work with a couple of North American banks who have their global development centers here in India. And these development centers support pretty much all technology and data-driven programs for these banks. We do it for a large French multinational based out of Bangalore. We do it for a large Southeast Asian bank. We would do it for a couple of insurance players in India. So, transforming their talent on whether it's cybersecurity, whether it's cloud computing, whether it's full stack development required for maintaining their technology ecosystem and systems, or whether it be analytics to forecast customer demand, design customer offer, predict things like customer delinquencies and other things. Most interestingly, we also work with a financial regulator, and they do a lot of work in the arena of economics and forecasting how banks and financial institutions are going to perform over a period of time. Right, so that's quite a prestigious project for us, where a large number of their data scientists are studying with great learning on how they could better predict the delinquencies of banks and how bank performance will be, and as a sector, how will financial services trend over a period of time. So that's quite a unique and prestigious project for us.
Indeed, these are very interesting times, and there is so much to learn. So Gauri, my next question to you is that how do you meet individual learner expectations, and also while designing an organizational level learning strategy? So over to you.
Thank you so much. And yeah, I think this is such a relevant question in today's times, as we are talking about org-wide learning strategy and maybe competency. Now, as digital transformation becomes standard and innovation is more critical for growth than ever before, I think HR leaders are tasked with fostering the mindset and behaviors and organizational knowledge that drives this innovation, really, in addition to building and buying technological skills that are needed to go digital. Now, the result is shifting from gathering or developing individual skills to cultivating, a large set of capabilities that enable organizations to create, innovate, and adapt to the future, really. Now, to address these needs, I've seen a lot of organizations are investing in new capability academies. I've seen our organization is also going down that path. Places to go learn, share, and build expertise together, right? Unlike in the past, where there used to be physical corporate universities, now the new academies offer digital learning experiences that value the context of today as well as the content, right? And when building the complex skills that are required to succeed. Now this is where AI-driven technologies like probably LinkedIn or Harvard Spark and Harvard Mentor, maybe Great Learning also comes into the picture, where talent development professionals can really leverage these technologies out there to help build those skills that are required for today and tomorrow as well.
Thank you, Gauri. Ryan, I'll go to you. And I remember last time that we spoke, you were talking about the importance of data analytics in your sector, and how in real estate also, making the business decisions out of data and doing it in real time helps you to stay agile with your, customer acquisition and satisfaction. So to that point, how are you developing data skills among your current employees? Are you depending on building talent more or buying talent? So what is your strategy?
Thanks, Pooja. And yes, this is a major focus area in my industry. While of course digital possibilities span from using 3D printing to machine learning and AI. The area that you referred to in terms of predictive analytics is a core one for us, because the analytics led decision making can help us to target our customers better, because the market is large. Our industry offers people the biggest purchase of their life, right? And therefore, sharp targeting becomes important. I'd say it goes much further than that in the customer journey, in terms of seeing which inventory to offer which customer, which is going to make the biggest impact. It goes further even in core operations. We have traditionally had people roaming around with checklists and noteboards. And now, and then over a time, people used to type it into email and send it. Now we are looking at people entering it real time into devices, and we should be able to see it immediately, right? Some years ago, our MD put out a demand that within 30 seconds after we take a customer's expression of interest, EOI check in our hand, it should appear on his dashboard. Right. So, that's the kind of demand that is coming from business, to have data readily available, and then to have data enable you to predict. And that's where predictive analytics comes into play, and it helps right along the life cycle, even when it's say collections from customers, because in our industry, we get only 10% of our products value upfront. We collect it over a period. And sometimes there are dislocations in the customer's ability to pay. Deep predictive analytics can help us see those in advance and address it, which then addresses cash flow, which then addresses managing our interest cost and the impact on the business. So, Pooja, that gives you an idea of, yes, what's the need. But what's the skill that we are seeking to build in people? I think first, the appreciation of what can be done with this, the desire to actually put in all the data, because one talks about data lakes and data warehousing and things like that. For all of that to work, data has to go in, right? And as I mentioned, my industry has had a tradition of keeping it offline, keeping it on emails, right? And that's one of the first things we actually had to tackle and get people to put data immediately where it needs to be. And I'd say the second big skill is for people from the top level right down to start envisioning what can be done with this, right? Because like what I just mentioned, projecting where collections is going to drop. AI is not going to suddenly do that. You have to have a broad sense of the algorithm which will help you do that. And then various technologies and programs can help you model that and get you the results. So we need our people to start thinking in that way of what's the business need, and then what technology can they use to make that happen. So that's broadly the need that we have. Did you have a further piece, Pooja, that you wanted to check?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you that how are you developing your talent to hone these skills? And
yes.
Are you depending on market to buy, or you're building capabilities within?
Excellent question, Pooja. And I will say that we are seeking to actually have resources who are solution oriented and passionate about learning new technologies, and able to understand the business and what the technology can do. Actual technologies, we want to buy the capability. Yeah, because it's changing so fast. Like I say, I tell you, for instance, we have platforms that are on .NET, right? On the or rather, they are built, or applications built on the .NET platform. A lot of companies are moving to open source platforms, like Java enabled, etc. Now, we would not want to hire a whole bunch of people with .NET capabilities, and suppose we decide to shift to Java base, then we have to fire them and get new ones. So we'd rather hire consultants to come in with that, and when we change, we'll be able to end one contract, start a new contract. So the core capability of seeing how to use technology, what specific technologies can do, and how to manage technology professionals is what we want to build internally, and we have been building. And specific technology skills which are changing literally by, not I think they would be an exaggeration, but I think I can honestly say by the month, right? That we want to buy from outside.
Fair enough, Ryan. Ritesh, data analytics itself is a complex field. It's got artificial intelligence, algorithms, interpretations. So for, excuse me, for all the professionals who want to learn and apply data in small or big business processes and operations, what kind of courses do you have for them? What would your advice be to them?
I think the first piece of advice that we give all our enterprise partners is first, let's understand what transformation you want to drive with data, right? I think often we have people looking at just the tag of the program, data science, AI, machine learning, big data, and just going after them, right? It's very important to first understand what kind of transformation an organization wants to drive. So I think at the very least, or the fundamental level, we are seeing most of our partners now appreciating the fact that data is no longer a specialized area for them. It's more a universal area that applies across domains. So the application of data and the understanding of data should be there with your marketing team, should be there with your sales team, should be there with your operations teams, right? Because they can all optimize what they do today. They can all do more of what they do, and they can be more specific and targeted. So one is we have programs, Pooja, which allow the larger population in a business to appreciate what the foundation of data is and how it can transform their work, right? So we work with UT Austin as one of our close partners. They are very well recognized in the data domain, and we have a few programs built with them. The second is we also want people to become experts in various areas. Like I said, AI, machine learning, big data, these are all areas of expertise, and there are huge career tracks and paths for people that are interested in these areas. So we have expert level programs in all of them. We call them digital skill certificates, and they're available for a variety of job roles in these areas. And then eventually, as people grow and do more of this, they usually want to get a prestigious degree or a certificate program. They want to do that along with their job and invest another 1 or 2 years developing themselves and growing into some. So we have programs that are long duration built with university partners. They are also available. But my advice to all our partners is first, let's understand the application of the programs, what kind of outcome you want to drive. And based on that, we can always recommend a roadmap and a path of programs or a selection of programs that will fit your requirement.
Pooja, if I may just add to what Ritesh talked about just now, right? And this reminded me of a report by LinkedIn that I was reading, that digital transformation is really decreasing the shelf life of skills. Now, this is putting a challenge to organizations like ours to play catch up while they try to hire and develop these people. But that's not always as easy as it sounds. Now, predicting skills for a company, what will the company need for the next 5, 10, or 20 years from now is a really mind-blowing task, right? And it's really mind-boggling perception, thought to have. And it's not about where we are today, it's about where you will be tomorrow. I think that is the key to the whole conversation, and kind of just building on what Ritesh said, it's about what you want to achieve through that transformation. So this really rang a bell in my mind. So
yes, agree, Gauri. And predicting skills is not easy, given that by 2024 they say about 70% skills are going to change the way transformation is taking place. Deepak, my question to you is that, how are you collaborating with business heads, with different functions, as an L&D leader, before you plan your L&D strategy at the organizational level?
Okay. So, see, when it comes to working with the business, each one of our businesses primarily is servicing a set of clients, and they are working on creating the right IT solutions for their clients or maintaining the existing IT solutions. So there is also a roadmap. As you consult with your clients, you work on a roadmap on how their digital journey is going to be. It is about some clients moving from on-prem platforms to a cloud platform, and then adding those elements of cybersecurity and other elements to it, and then creating a layer of data analytics on it, and so on. So every client is on a different path to maturity on this on the digital space. So when you work with your business leaders, you look at what kind of clients they are servicing, what is the technology roadmap that their clients have, what is the existing skill sets within our organization, what is our go-to-market strategy on solutioning as well. And all these elements put together create a kind of a strategy at the end of it. And see, in doing so, we also have to provide a larger ecosystem of platforms and tools which will help us do the right analytics, gather the right information, and be able to, as you go and talk to your business, be able to talk through and plan what is the next level. So it could be on the and there are other parameters, the organizational dynamics, which also play a role in terms of attritions, in terms of how what kind of skill index exists within this organization, and so on. So you have to factor in all these elements. And to the point which Ryan spoke about, predictive analytics, we also look at analytics, first of all, to kind of work with our business leadership to say, hey, these kind of skill sets is what we are seeing as, from an attrition data for the last 1 year, and also looking at the pipeline, how can we merge these two and create some amount of predictiveness in the way we skill employees. So those elements are very crucial for us. And that plays a very vital role when we work on a strategy with the business leadership.
Thank you, Deepak. And there is a very interesting question that has come from the audience. I'd like to take this question. Do you think in future, some non-technology sectors will be leading the technology innovations, adoptions faster than the IT sector?
I think it's something which everyone is doing right now, whether it is Ola, whether it is Airbnb, or whether it is the financial space. I mean, every single place, I think each one of us has now become more digital human than anyone else. I mean, look at the amount of stuff that you do from your cell phone. I think it's not about, it's no longer about IT as such. It's more about the whole persona of a digital human that is driving this entire thing. The whole persona of what is the need for these individuals is driving everything.
True. And I want to bring the example of food. So now we are going to have this, an artificial intelligence driven equipment that's going to cook for us. So I think some of the startups in Bangalore have created some of these equipment. So
see, on a side humorous note to this, if my insurance guy looks at my Swiggy and tells me that, hey, your food, the kind of food that you're ordering will result in your high premium insurance, you can imagine what happens.
That day won't be far. I don't think so. It's going to be far. My next question. Yes, Ryan.
But somewhat in reverse. I recall that in my last group, which had an insurance wing, we did look to tie up with some of the health services like Goki, etc., because we had the assumption that people who are exercising regularly, they should be a lower risk. So I remember I had initiated that. I don't know what came of it, but people thought it made sense.
Interesting. Smita, just as Deepak pointed out, that we do so much work on the phone and we do so much banking on the phone as well. So some of the institutions in the financial sector have been really, have been existing since ages. So is there some kind of roadblock in mindset change or culture change that needs to be, taken care of before you start driving innovations in this industry? So what is that you're doing for, let's say, mind shift change and culture change?
Very interesting point that you brought up, Pooja. Now, culture is something that's extremely hard to define, and yet it is a crucial aspect of creating the digital transformation. Now, the biggest transformation that is needed is the transformation of the mindset. We need to think differently, work differently, change every process that we look at, every client interaction that we have, and every product that we put out there. And so it's not just about being better than yesterday. It's about being in line with our client expectations and on par with leading examples, not just from our industry, but also from the other industry. So it is about ensuring that all our employees, everybody knows that digital is everyone's job. So it might sound quite romantic and idealistic that the idea of bottom up or grassroots change, but in reality, change is more likely to happen if you drive it from top down. So the key is to ensure that everybody, right from the chair of the board to the CEO to the managers, to the actual processors, they understand and they develop the new digital skills that are required. Now, you spoke about a mindset shift, and what's crucial to understand over here is that technological skills can keep changing, but having the data-driven approach to understand what will come up next or what is it that's required, having a change mentality where you embrace it rather than are averse from it. These are the things that would help in bringing about that culture shift. So ensuring that bringing about awareness and the importance of why digital is important is what helps in getting the shift.
I'd like to add on to that, if I may. I completely agree with Smita that a lot of technology and digital comes down to culture, and culture is driven from the top. There's no getting around it. So when in my company, our MD Mohit took a call that he will no longer review PPTs. Right, he in certain areas to start with, he will review only system generated dashboards. Right now, that coalesced the organization around the effort to then fix any issues with the dashboards, make sure that the data is fed into the system so that it comes right. Because otherwise, you always have the option of taking whatever it is and massaging the data and preparing a deck. But when he set the tone in that way, now that's what has led to dashboards getting used across the organization, and it is already saving a little. It's going to save literally thousands of man hours in the year, because people will not be sitting with PPTs all the time. So I just wanted to reinforce that. Yeah, Smita's bang on that. It's driven for leadership.
Yes, and that'll also, improve the work-life balances and, avoid burnout and those kind of issues in the workplace. I'll just take an audience question now. So the question is how digital fits in your wider L&D strategy. Anybody would like to?
Can I go?
Yes.
Go ahead, Deepak.
I think gone are the days when digital was a very niche word and there was a demarcation of digital and non-digital. I think that was 3 to 5 years back. Now everything is digital. So even if you're talking about Javas and .NETs of the world, as far as technology is concerned, they are also part of the digital landscape now. The orientation of it has changed from where they were applicable few years back to where they're applicable now. So in my view, as far as digital L&D strategy is concerned, I think the entire strategy is focused towards digital itself. It's just a matter of how you look at it. Now, every single technology that every industry that we have in the forum here is imbibing. Everyone is talking about one of these elements of cloud, blockchain, cybersecurity, data analytics, and all these now are called as digital. So that is in my view, there's no such element as non-digital anymore as far as technology is concerned.
I was just going to add to what Deepak is saying, and you're very right that you cannot separate digital from the learning strategy. It is a part of everything we do. But a point that I think we should not miss out on is, as we are talking about digitalization and we're talking about digital learning, there's a very, very important aspect, and there is a huge need to retrain employees due to digitalization. And what is this retraining and what are we really talking about? Now, these are skills around empathy, collaboration, working in teams. As we move closer to a digital environment, as what Deepak talked about, there are skills like broad-based skills and deeper skills that need to be developed. And these are, this requires the mindset shift that you talked about earlier, and change management at every step. It cannot be that I'm going to roll out a strategy and then do change management. It has to be along with it. So digital strategy, change management, I think kind of go all along with each other.
Yeah,
So,
and just to add to that, Pooja, one thing which is very critical is that the whole emotional intelligence piece which Gauri was talking about, also the whole piece of understanding the persona of your users at the end, the whole idea of design thinking, empathy, understanding your customer, and be able to start with the whole element of whether it's a user experience and so on. These are the words that you'll find predominantly used in every industry now. So that's where the alignment also happens. And besides the digital strategy piece, one thing which has come in now in digital is the whole piece of having an understanding of your end users. And that's a very critical component from a user interface to anything.
Ritesh, any thoughts on that? That, when you have learners coming to your platform, are they looking for T-shaped skills more or I-shaped skills more? And what kind of combinations are they doing, picking up, like a digital skill plus empathy, or mindfulness and analytics? So some thoughts on that.
So Pooja, for us, see, we primarily operate in technology and data skill areas. We also operate in the general management area, but our expertise is across technology and data. I think one change that we're noticing in demand now, and I think this will support the points that all panelists are making, is I'll give you an example of a large Indian bank, Indian headquartered, one of the large banks, that recently came to us and asked us to prepare a roadmap for transformation of their skill set. They've already built a 1,500 people plus digital skills academy, digital skills center of excellence. And they're looking at a transformation roadmap for skills for that entire unit, which is over the next 3 years. How are skills going to change for them? What sort of trainings do they require? What sort of programs they have to go through for them to be future ready? We also have a retail partner coming to us with a similar demand for preparing a roadmap, leading on to an academy that hopefully we will run together with our partners. Now, when we look at people within these centers of excellence, they are a combination of operations staff, sales staff, analytics people, HR, finance, so on and so forth, right? So, and the skills that they all require and which are being demanded are pretty much data, technology, an overview, or deep expertise. So I personally think that no function is going to be left untouched across any industry. We are just seeing this massive revolution of change. Just like this change happened at some point in time during the Renaissance when everything went from being done manually to being done by machines. I think we are just seeing that sort of a transformation. This is the very beginning of it, where pretty much every job role as it's done today will change over the next 5 to 10 years. And anybody who doesn't invest in technology and data skills will be outdated. So that's what we are seeing. I think the next 5-10 years will be pivotal as these skills attain more demand and attain more scale. But the writing pretty much seems on the wall. There is no role, there is no company, there is no sector that is untouched at this stage. I'm sorry if I did really answer your exact question or not.
No, you did answer.
But those are the thoughts that came to my mind given the comments from fellow panelists.
Gauri, my next question is for you. what learning interventions can you design around performance gaps? Maybe individual level or team or organizational level of performance gap?
I think when we talk about performance gaps, I think it can, I don't want to answer it as, this is the learning strategy to address this gap, but it's really about partnering with the business. And when I say offering a lot of digital training to our employees is not really enough. What we need to think about is offering our people a wide range of development opportunities, including formal development and self-directed learning as well, right? Organizations today need to be smart about their build or buy decisions. This is where AI-driven platforms come in, and they make it easier for organizations like us to make decisions and offer this to our employees. And to go a little deeper in what you're talking about is also having a shared outcome between the business and the talent development organization is really very important, because when you're talking about skill gap, the point, this discussion is more than a decade old, and but the top area that talent development professionals are expected to focus on is identifying and addressing this gap. Now, who's really responsible for this is, I mean, a lot of time people say it's the talent development professionals' responsibility. I don't think so. I think it's a shared responsibility between the talent organization and the business, who's really going to have the budget for it, or for whom we are developing these skills. So partnering with the business to deliver what's important and relevant for them also makes a lot of sense.
Just a quick response, Pooja, I'd like to come in to what Gauri said. I think this question of build versus buy, many times our prospective customers, when they get into early stage discussion, this question does pop up. They've all have large academies, which they've been running for several decades, and they've been training people on a variety of skills. I think what's predicating this decision now, though, is the fact that how people learn, just like Gauri said, there are platforms and AI-driven programs and recommendations. And so that, how people learn has changed. And I think traditionally, the build decision was based on, let's use internal resources, it's going to be more cost effective. But because now, the areas that people want to learn in, they have changed. They're changing at a very fast pace. Number two, how people learn and how they absorb knowledge, that is changing tremendously. Number three, just the attention span that people have, distractions that they have. So I think all of that changing, we see the build decision slowly but surely moving towards the buy side. A successful program is a combination, in our opinion, of high quality content, high quality testing, actual teaching in blended format, getting people to work on case studies, projects together, really simulating, in the context of the IT industry, simulating the client environment. Now, to do all that for an organization, building it on its own is tough. They don't work with universities. They don't have production, post-production capability. They don't have pedagogy experts to stitch programs together. Building something like this and constantly keeping it updated is a tough ask. And I think it's, even if you were to put a business case for it, it would certainly drift in the favor of buy. So I couldn't agree more. I think Gauri's made some interesting points. This debate does come up in our conversations with prospects, and I just thought I should share that experience with the panel.
Yes, I agree. And I want to just carry this debate. Yeah, Ryan, I'll just come to you in 1 second. So, there is an audience question, and when we're talking about, developing content internally for your learning. So this question says, this person says that, I'm sure what we're discussing today, the skills that we're discussing today, will no longer remain relevant tomorrow. So, where do you draw a balance? How much can you internally do, to create content and learning programs for your organization? So Ryan, what point were you making? And then maybe I would want somebody to share something on this.
Well, would you like me to take a crack at it then?
Sure, please.
Yeah. So incidentally, the point that I was making to just round off what Ritesh was saying is create versus curate, right? Is the call in terms of learning content. And I think what almost all organizations are moving towards is anything which is reasonably available out there. No point in reinvent the wheel, just curate it, right? I think curation is very important because learners are confused as hell. They say that people can process up to 7 choices. You do a Google search for a program on machine learning, you have 7,000 choices, right? So if people end up then not doing a program because they'll need to go and talk to people and figure out which one. So if the organization can curate and say that, okay, in this particular space, here's a appropriate learning journey. Do this, read this article, gives you an overview of it. Then do this, this particular course which is there on Udemy, right? And thereafter maybe talk to an expert in the team, and maybe ask these questions. So curation of this is the way that we are moving. There are, of course, certain things, nuggets, which you need to create, right, which are specific and customized to your company. And a lot of the learning platforms now, Udemy and all of these, allow you to curate learning journeys. So you can take various elements of their courses, you can splice it together with a couple of videos or documents from your company, and you can offer it as a holistic learning journey to your users. So we are taking advantage of those, and I think that's the way it's moving. So that was the answer to the last question. Maybe I'll pause. You can take someone else's view, and happy to take a crack at the audience question.
So Pooja, if I may to add to this, this has gone one level further from curation, is what I feel. See, curation. When when I look at 3-4 years back, we were curating content for various topics. We were saying, hey, if you're a Java, you want to become a Java developer, then you do these 10 set of courses. And this is what we do. But beyond curation, now it has moved to a level of, at a still lower level of skills and connecting the dots of what a job role is, what are the skills needed, and personalizing learning journeys for individuals basis the skill gaps which exist for employees, for individuals. That's a very critical component. I mean, we have moved to more of a specialization at a skill level. And as Gauri spoke about AI ML platforms, they are now, I think, I have seen a big disruption in the education technology space, especially, where now AI ML applicability in education to look at an individual level, that if you are an individual with such a job role and these are the skills that you have, and this is the gap exists within your skills, then for this particular skill, you can do this kind of a course and develop yourself. I think that's where now the whole piece of academies that are being spoken about have now gone to capabilities and skills at this stage. That is how I see the industry also evolving right now. If you see the market, whether it is all those learning experience platforms which are a layer above learning management systems, and also the platforms which are coming in now, which are connecting the dots between capability development and the staffing solutions which come in together, all those elements, I think they're merging a lot of things together. Now you'll not find a learning management system or a learning experience systems. Now you'll find a combination of resourcing plus this put together.
Yeah. Just a quick comment to support what Deepak said. I think, content slowly but surely is becoming a commodity. There's enough and more out there. It's really the intelligence that you put in stitching it together as a learning journey that drives the desired outcome for the organization and for its employees. And like I said, that learning journey has to be a combination of content plus projects plus case studies plus examinations, and all of that put together. You know that somebody who's going through that journey will ultimately come out with the desired outcome for the organization. So just to give you an example of how we do it for organization, under the digital skills certificate banner, we have about 6 key domain areas, and we have a set of job roles under those 6 domains. So for example, we'll have a bunch of job roles under the data sciences category. And for each of those, we have detailed learning journeys as to what skills do learners need to acquire, what sort of tools and technologies they have to be familiar with, what kind of projects do they have to work on. And this is customizable. So we work with organizations. For example, if Deepak were to have, a bunch of retail clients or a bunch of financial services clients from the IT industry, and they want people to be trained so they can work and service those clients, we can very well tweak projects, we can tweak case studies, we can change a lot of dimensions of the program and the journey to suit a particular industry. So really, content is becoming a commodity. It's about how you are able to stitch it all together to drive outcomes is what matters, and which I think was a good point that Deepak made.
Gauri, you wanted to say something?
No. I think it got covered now.
Okay.
Nothing beyond what I said.
Smita, I would want you to share some of the best practices you are adopting in your organization for developing core business skills. Just some of the best practices.
One thing that we do look at is a one-stop shop of an enterprise-wide digital learning repository. We have our learning tools, resources that would help build our digital knowledge skills as well as capabilities. Now, most of these learning programs that we have, they cover a targeted digital topic, which combines 3 learning elements. First is the foundational knowledge, which gives you the basics. And the second would be how is this topic handled at the organizational level? And third is how it is applied to drive conversation and business opportunities with our client. Now, when we speak about these learning repositories, it's not adding on to what Ritesh, Gauri, and Ryan were speaking about in terms of curating content. It's not just about having content in place, but also having a skill catalog for our workforce, our employees. And how is it that our people can actually look at assessing their own skills and then creating personal learning paths to improve on their professional development? That's the kind of initiatives that we are driving currently.
I would second that. That's approach we are also taking, Pooja. The whole piece on individuals being able to, first of all, put their skills together, assess, and then get a very personalized learning journey for themselves is very critical.
Yeah, to add to what Deepak's saying, what I see as a big shift is in the past, they would look at us as learning professionals to tell them what to learn. But today, organizations like ours are putting learning in the learner's hands with technology-driven learning platforms like all the ones we talked about. I think that's really giving that autonomy and freedom to the learners to be able to learn what they want and how they want, when they want it. And that, I think, is, to me, if I have to really simplify and boil it down to what is digitalization of learning, that's one way of looking at it, right?
Absolutely, Gauri. It is. Sorry, Ryan.
Go ahead, Smita.
Yeah. So I was just saying that to add to what you're saying, Gauri, it's about creating channels for employees as well as the organization to exchange that skill information and facilitate a better match between what is it that an employee wants and what is it that the organization is looking at, and to pursue mutually beneficial and flexible development that would benefit both parties.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you articulated the point well. We have all of this data available with us, right? But still, we end up sometimes having canned products for large segments of people. We have the capabilities now with LXPs like Degreed and many others, right? To look at our talent data, look at our performance data, look at people's expressed career aspirations, look at trends in this particular domain, and provide people, sort of very simple AI-enabled inputs as to which direction to go. I'd also, say that it's about sparking in people that desire to deep dive into that area. Like if you look at it, all of us have a hobby, right? I mean, and in our natural worlds, we learn it automatically. Nobody had to pursue us and tell us that, this is what you have to do to become, be it a better cricket player, to a better stamp collector, to X, Y, Z. Organizations, on the other hand, it's become a culture where we are kind of unnaturally sitting back and waiting for a manager or HR to tell us what and where to learn. So this is changing, and I think L&D organizations are kind of in the forefront of that. If I may, I'd like to take 1 minute to talk about an initiative we did, which kind of sparked this in people. Right? Actually, this was in a previous organization, but I love this program. Right? So it was a large manufacturing organization with huge plants, and we wanted people to start really exploring IoT, Internet of Things, right? Having sensors everywhere, getting data, doing predictive maintenance and things of that nature. Of course, that's very simply put. There are far greater applications of IoT. So, and it wasn't really moving. So what we did is we tied up with an IIT. We had the best professors from there come in, and we had high potentials from each factory come together. And for 2 days, they just discussed the potential of this technology, right? And what other companies are doing with it, and what the future could be. And they did some skill building on how to select the technology, what are the actual costings of sensors, and so on and so forth. We even had some vendors on hand to then help people with their costing proposals and things like that. And after 2 days of this intensive work, third day we gave people to sit and think about what they wanted to do. And on the fourth day, we had CEOs come in and they presented that, okay, this is what we want to try out in our factory, and this is the budget that we need for it. And things were approved there and then. Now, did we have to support them with detailed learning thereafter? No, we just had to give them avenues. We gave them the connect to those faculties. We gave them the relevant e-learning modules, etc. They now are going out in search of learning, because they have to deliver a project which they've committed to the CEO. Right. So I think this is the sort of thing that L&D professionals are doing to kind of spark that desire in people. I just end with this quote. It's a little corny, but I always found it interesting. So if you want to teach people to build a ship, you can either teach them how to cut and saw wood and nail it together, or you can teach them a yearning for the vast and open sea. And I think that's the primary contribution that learning and development professionals can make. People will learn. That's our natural default of a human being, is to learn.
Yeah, curiosity is the key. As long as we can be curious, we will learn.
Just a point here, it's just simply put, I think the whole mindset change in the learning fraternity would be from being a learning consultant who creates programs to being a performance consultant, because you understand the performance pain points and then you arrive at solutions, and that changes the whole game. I mean, in the last 2-3 years of pandemic, if you see, the whole piece changed. The business coming to you and saying, how can my sales team sell virtually, or how can I build resilience, and so on. So it was not a training need they came with. They came with a problem statement. You're solving a problem. And that's a big change which has happened for learning and development fraternity also. That now they're looking at solutioning on a problem rather than talking about, hey, every need comes and you create a learning module out of it. That doesn't make sense at all. I mean, everything is not a learning solution. Everything doesn't have a learning solution at the end.
Yeah, I second that, because, I read recently that for developers, syntax is not so important now. For them to be problem solving and critical thinking are those skills more important for developers now. Ritesh, one last question before we close today. Some of the criteria you think organizations should consider while assessing the success of their learning initiatives? Just 1 or 2 points.
See, it has to have several dimensions. One, what does it do for the employees, people who actually go through the program? What does it do for their careers and their tenures and their well-being? So that should be criteria number one. Number two, how does it impact the sponsor's business? Somebody who's putting their faith in employees, investing in them. How does it drive the actual outcomes, whether it's growth or revenue, or whether it's higher productivity, lower cost? How does it drive that particular agenda of productivity for business? And the third, I guess, is slightly softer. What does it do for the actual tenure of the employee with the organization? Does it actually build a certain amount of appreciation for the company that, yes, this is an organization that's investing in my career, and therefore, there has to be a certain amount of loyalty and obligation that I feel towards the organization. I would say, if these three are met, then any program is successful, and it's money well spent. And to the point that some of the panelists were making earlier, I think especially Ryan touched upon this point. Organizations can go ahead and make any amount of investment. You can invest in technology, tools, programs. You can invest. For us, we as a learning company are willing to give scholarships to all our enterprise partners, so that their employees can benefit from it, right? So everything is available, really, but it's about the attitude of learning. Nobody can inculcate that. You can have the best tech, best program, best opportunities, high investment, but ultimately the hunger to grow and the hunger to learn and the realization that that's the only path to professional salvation. I think that feeling is very, very important, and it's only the employees and the learners that can inculcate that in themselves.
This was indeed a very informative and very insightful session. But now we've come to the end of the session, and I would conclude that addressing skill gaps is a business imperative. Only if your L&D strategy is aligned to develop an agile, adaptive, and resilient workforce, you can leverage the latest technologies to reimagine the future business and navigate the digital era successfully. Thank you, viewers, for staying with us and sharing your thought-provoking questions. Thank you, speakers, for joining us today.